welcome back to another episode here at the Art of Football 365. We are blessed to have you guys tuning back into another segment. Before we get started, go ahead and Gronk spike that subscribe button. Leave a like for as many times as Tony Romo calls out a play at the line of scrimmage, which, as you can tell when you watch the NFL games, Tony Romo is calling out plays before the play even happens. So leave a like for as many times as he does that in a season, which is over 1,000. So I expect 1,000 likes. And leave a comment, just like Troy Aikman does every time Joe Buck sounds like a dad at a son's little league game. So we switched that up a little bit.
A lot of irrelevant crap.
Yeah. Just a little intro. Just tune back into this week's episode. We're excited to have you guys tuning back in, and we are also sponsored by Driftless Quality Wear and 312 Beef and Sausage. So make sure to check them out. Driftless Quality Wear. I'm actually wearing one of their hats. I just purchased this last week. Use the code football365 for 10% off discount at the checkout. And if you're around the Freeport area, Lena, Stockton, Forreston, Orangeville, in the 815 area, go shop at 312 Beef and Sausage. The food is off the charts. You will not regret getting a meal there, and you will get your bang for your buck because you will be full and you'll be in a
Oh
food
yeah.
coma. So those are our two sponsors as of now, so check them both out. We actually forgot last week to include our Mental Monday. So we're gonna get back into that this week. We apologize for the inconvenience with that. I know it. Honestly, I believe it to be a very important part that we've added. So can't believe we missed that. But so my quote for this week says, "Anything that's human is mentionable, and anything that is mentionable can be more manageable. When we talk about our feelings, they become less overwhelming, less upsetting, and less scary." Fred Rogers. Oh, so to me, what this quote means, I think it's sports related. I think it's life related. I think if you have an issue, talk about it to someone. It doesn't have to be a therapist. Talk to someone that you are close with, a close friend, someone that you trust. Because if you're able to have a trustworthy relationship with someone and you can let everything that's going on inside your head and let it out for someone to hear, it will benefit you. Before I let Gannon talk about his quote, I just want to give one example as to why I believe this is important. So imagine your head is like a filing cabinet. And over time, that filing cabinet becomes more clogged and more clogged with papers. And it gets to the point where you can't open that cabinet anymore and put new papers in there. So that's what your head's like. Your head, if it becomes too jammed with old memories and you start living in the past and those old memories clog up your brain, you will no longer be able to achieve a sense of happiness. So let go of the past, live in the present, and trust your future. That's what I got for this week's Mental Monday.
Yeah, mine is the day you don't want to is the day that you need to, and it's from the Mentality Instagram page. I'd go give them a follow. I really like the stuff that they post. They post stuff on a daily basis. They don't have a specific person, so I think they might have made this one up, but it's a pretty simple quote. I mean, I'll repeat it again here. The day you don't want to is the day that you need to, and I think that's big in life because it's easy for people, that like to sleep in and everything comes easy to them once they get up at 10 or 11 o'clock, and then yeah, but
That's me. That's me.
those are yeah, those are the easy days for people, like when you don't have to set an alarm and that type of stuff. But when you have to get up at 6, 7 o'clock and go through different types of stuff throughout the day and have a structured schedule, sometimes you just feel like giving up. And those are the days when you need to push through it. And once you look back on it, you're like, wow, I could do that. And you're actually going to get through the stuff that's challenging. And that's where you're going to feel the most successful about yourself and with your life. I mean, that's social life, school life, and athletic wise. So I thought it's a pretty simple one, but I thought it was a pretty good one that you're going to have your bad days, but when you push through those bad days, that's when it's even better.
Oh, without a doubt. Mental Monday is very important to us both. We both deal with anxious times and stressful times, and so does everybody else. So this is our way of reaching out to you guys and giving you guys our story. So in this week's episode, in segment one, we'll be discussing kind of a controversial topic. I wouldn't in the sports world, it's controversial a little bit because parents tend to enjoy their kids playing maybe one sport, maybe two. But we're going to talk about the importance of multi sport athletes in episode six, segment one. And in segment two, we will dive into having a special guest on that relates to this topic very well. And that person will be able to share his story for the world, and people will appreciate that, especially younger athletes. So let's dive right into this topic. And a quote that I want to start it off with is that a lot of parents or a lot of people in general, there's this saying that goes, "Don't put all your eggs into one basket," and that's honestly what a lot of athletes do in our generation growing up nowadays. Is because they go into a sport and then they play travel ball, they play AAU basketball, whatever it is, and they tend to think, all right, this is my thing, this is my sport, so I'm going to only rock with this sport. I'm going to take all my time and my dedication and only practice and play this sport. So in this episode, we're not here to tell you why you shouldn't do that. We're here to recommend and prove with concrete evidence that
Yeah.
there is a clear reason why you shouldn't do that. Obviously, like I said, it's everyone has their own free will. Everyone can do what they want. If you love a sport and you want to play it, only that sport, then more power to you. But in this episode, we just want to touch on the importance of it and why multi-sport athletes are the ones that are the biggest achievers in today's world. You see many players around in our generation growing up that choose to play that one sport. But there's plenty of NFL, NBA, MLB
Oh,
players that played sports you wouldn't have imagined. I mean, Tom Brady was drafted into the MLB. Who else was? Colin Kaepernick might have been in the
Patrick
MLB.
Mahomes was.
Patrick Mahomes was. Yep.
I mean,
I
it's
mean, Tim Tebow even went to go play baseball. Like
yeah, he just retired from professional
he did. He
baseball.
did. So I have some questions that arise to me when thinking about this topic, and Gannon and I will go back and forth on what we think the reasoning behind multi-sport athletes
Yeah.
is and the purpose
Well,
of it.
one thing before we dive into this, before this, the actual playing of the sports, and I think the biggest reason why I was thankful that I played multiple sports were the relationships. You just don't get relationships from playing one sport. I mean, you're gonna have your same set of coaches throughout travel ball, whatever your club sports. You're always gonna have those same ones. But I played basketball up until my freshman year of high school, and then I played golf and baseball, and then Bryce played football, basketball, and baseball in high school. And I still keep in close contact with people that I golfed with. I was a decent golfer growing up. I wasn't the best, but some of my good friends from other schools were from golf. And if I didn't explore out and just stick to baseball only, I wouldn't have met some lifelong friends. And my high school golf coach was a really big impact on my life. And those things are just you're not going to get that just playing one sport and being singular in just your athletic career. I think that's one of the biggest things that I wanted to touch on. But yeah, let's dive into some of these questions.
Oh, you actually brought up a good point before we dive into those questions, and you kind of shared your story a little bit about the importance of how you played multiple sports and what it did for you. And I got the same story similar to Gannon because we played travel baseball together, and we are living proof that it's doable to be able to play a travel sport and continue playing multiple sports at your high school level. We played 45, 50 baseball games a summer for
Yeah.
8 or 9 summers together. And like you said, the amount of people that you will meet and be able to have connections with, it's ridiculous. And you'll travel. That's another thing we'll dive into with this multi-sport thing. Is travel's a big thing, and being able to travel as a kid is awesome. And that has a
Mm-hmm.
lot to do with playing multiple sports. So for me, playing baseball, basketball, and football, but still having time to put my favorite sport in the summer and play it twice, yet I'm still playing football and basketball. So that was a
Yeah,
big
because
thing
you
for
still
me.
had mini camp stuff for football. You still had summer basketball.
Yep.
There's plenty of time to get it all done.
Oh, for sure. We'll touch on that too. We got plenty of things to talk about. But my first question that's brought up to me when I kind of think about multi-sport players and stuff, it's why is it that parents have play a big influence slash role in what sports their children get to play? Now, I don't want to kind of touch on this subject in a way that like parents are doing it all wrong because I'm the first to tell you I'm not a parent. I'm not a parent by any means, and whatever you do for your kid is in his or her best interest by far. But I believe that parents play a big influence in sports with their children because more often than not, they're their child's biggest cheerleader, which is completely fine. You're going to be your child's biggest cheerleader, and you're going to support them through and through everything. However, I do think that my advice to a parent would be if parents took a step back and just allowed their kids to have a bad game, accept defeat, accept the bench, and just overall accept their role without coddling them through everything. Now I know that not all parents are like that, And some parents do it every once in a while, and it's okay. Like it comes down to it, and you're gonna have your child's back. That's just the way life goes, sports or not. But imagine if we lived in a world like that with athletes. We would have much stronger, much mentally stronger athletes. Guys who are able to accept a bench role and understand that the starting lineup's not for them, and it may not be on the team that they're a part of. And the more you start to accept your role and kind of be that multi-sport athlete, like say you're, for example, you're great in football, and you're an all-stater in football, uh, but then you want to play basketball because you want to stay in shape. So fall season's over and winter rolls around, you're playing basketball to stay in shape. That correlates right to football. You got to be in shape, and say you're terrible at basketball, but yet you still go out for the sport and you accept the bench role, you accept being a fan of your team, and still going in there in a spot when they need you, regardless of how bad you are at a game. Going out for multiple sports will allow you to have a whole different perspective on sports and life. It will literally allow you to take full responsibility in pretty much everything that you do. And I'll kind of let Gannon answer his thoughts on this
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to kind of break it in a couple parts here. First, about that parent stuff. Obviously, we're not parents, but I'm just going to speak straight up here. The parents that yell nonstop throughout their kids' games, because we have seen this. We know kids that peers of ours throughout time. It's one of the worst things when a kid is scared on the court or on the field and she or he is looking over their shoulder at their parent while they're doing something right after they make a mistake. And that's one of the things that I vow that hopefully someday, if I'm blessed enough to be able to start a family and stuff, that I am not going to be that. I'm going to be, obviously, I'm going to get worked up and stuff, but I'm going to let my kid go play his sport. We can talk about stuff after. But the coach is there to coach the kids, regardless if you like how the coach coaches or not. They're the coach for a reason. That it's just so annoying to see that. I just had to kind of get that off my chest because obviously I'm not a parent. I don't know how to parent good enough like other people, but no matter how good or bad a parent you are, you just can't do that. You got to let your kid, like you said, go embrace their athleticism and go play the sport and worry about talking about that stuff when the game's done. But yeah, once you were talking about the multi-sport stuff, is embracing the different type of roles and stuff, and it's huge because there's, like you said, like I ran cross country in middle school and I went out for that not knowing what the heck I was doing. It was cross country, it was a long distance sport, and I was just doing it to stay in shape for basketball. And I
Exactly.
ended up running it for 4 years, and I still keep in contact with my coaches from that, and some people that I had there. I ended up being the best 4 years of my life. Those are the different types of stuff you're not going to get. And like you said, you're not going to be the best in every single sport. But there's also been studies out, because I did a project on multi-sport athletes, the benefits of it in high school, and it works different muscles and parts of your body, and it just decreases the amount of burnout physically and mentally for athletes that are specifying in one sport year round. And you see a lot of that more in the South with the warmer states
Warmer
that you
climate,
can,
yeah.
yeah, when you can play sports year round. But there's just a lot that you can learn. There's lessons in sports all across the board, but there's a lot specific lessons in each different sport. Because like with me playing golf was mentally on your own the whole time. There's team scores, but you're golfing on your own from start to
Mm-hmm.
finish. And baseball and football and basketball, there's a lot more team oriented stuff. So you bring those together, it just makes you a better, well rounded person, not even an athlete.
No, for sure. And I think another thing I wanted to touch on with this within this question is that I mentioned how parents like to be that supportive person to their child, and you're gonna do that
Yeah.
regardless of bad, good, or however it's seen. You're going to be a supporter. But from my perspective, I believe you're supporting your child more by allowing them to accept who they are as a player and a person. And if you take a step back, I think you're supporting them even more by
Yep.
showing them that
100%.
that's a trustworthy relationship. That's a relationship where you're giving your child independence at a younger age to kind of grow up and kind of just not be soft in a way. Like when you
It's
grow up,
figure you let them figure some stuff out on their own.
yeah, because I mean, right now we live in a world that's soft, very soft, and I think it's related to sports in a way because of all the things we've mentioned so far. We just have to allow children to play what they want to play, but more importantly, kind of lean them in the direction of showing them that multiple sports can benefit you. And if you want to go to the NBA, You want to go to the NFL? Awesome. Work as hard as you can to make that dream a reality. And like we here personally wish every single person who wants to do that the best. That's what
But playing the other sports are gonna help
it's
them
going to
get there.
help you do that. And we'll dive into that. We'll dive into why that will help you. Trust me on that. But the next question we have is why do children not always have that influence at all? And obviously it's different in any other household. We all have different upbringings, different atmospheres and extracurricular activities that go on outside of school that kind of affect who we are and shape us into who we become. But in a sports related sense, I just feel like parents tend to want to influence their children with what sports they play based on what they played in high school, and I seen that a lot. And honestly, it might be a smaller school thing for me personally. Going,
It's everywhere.
I mean, it's got to be everywhere, but like me personally, I was able to see it more directly because I went to a small school, so like we all knew each other, we all know what's going on, and like you see parents that are encouraging incredible play at a position or on a sport that they played. And like that's where parents need like just take that step back and I feel like we're going all in on parents tonight, but
No, I mean, you're 100% right. I know we're thinking of the same examples about some parents and people. I mean, obviously, we're not going to talk about that on air, but
oh yeah.
the common thing you hear is that parents want to live out their athletic careers, their shortcomings of their own athletic careers through their kids. And that is 100% the worst thing that you can do. And you need to let your kids do their own things because it's just sad to see that. And it reiterated again, like you said, you just, those 2 to 3 hours that they're at practice. I mean, some parents will stay there the whole time and watch their younger kids practice. Just let them
And
go and
why?
have fun.
Well, like what is
Because
that?
they want to be that controlling thing, and they, like I said, they want to be able to live through their athletic dreams and their fallouts when they were younger because they weren't as good of athletes as their kids. And it's just, and some people get so caught up in the winning. And this is when you're 10 to 15 years old, when you're just trying to,
and the
when you're just
individual
trying to get a
achievement.
lot. Yeah, again, and you're just trying to, the main thing is just getting the kids love for the game and having fun with their peers. I mean, the winning is going to come with more success as you get older. That's going to be the rest of your life. Just let the kids go out and have fun. That's the biggest thing. I mean, my dad's always does a little corny thing. I know you remember he does the two fist bumps. It's always do your best and have fun, or the two fist bump things. I mean, he's always said that to me since I was younger, and that's more important than the wins and losses and the stats. You're going to forget about all that crap when you're older.
Yeah. And I honestly, honest to God, I think that a lot of reasons behind why kids choose to play one sport is honestly most of the time based on the influence that they get. Because if you have parents around you telling you, okay, we're not telling you you need to play all three, all four sports, but we are telling you that this will benefit you. And I think there's a lot of parents that don't push that issue and kind of explain to their kids that, okay, you're playing one sport and you're great at it. I know you're great at it, but why not get better at other things? Like there's little things within other sports that will help you get better at another sport. The sport you're great at could be football, but basketball, you may learn different ways to jump, which sounds
Yeah.
stupid. That sounds dumb. But
It's 100. It's way different movements.
but
You're
you
never gonna be a perfect athlete. Nobody's
no
perfect.
no no. And you know the crazy thing, we're sitting here talking about this, and years from now, we look back on this and we're those parents. That's gonna be the
Yeah,
funniest
I'm not gonna
funniest
be.
thing.
I've made that a vow, Bryce. I said that earlier that I am not gonna be. Obviously, I'm gonna get cut up and heated up, but I am not gonna be that parent game in, game out, practice after practice. I don't want my kid because I've seen other people my age that I've practiced and it affects them.
It
It
creates
makes them not want to
paranoia.
play yeah. I mean,
It's
there's
paranoia.
kids that have been drove from the game from different athletic sports and stuff that don't even want to play anymore, not even because their own love and passion falls out. It's because their parents ruin it for them. And then
And
that breaks your heart seeing that.
and like another thing is like we've gone a lot on the parents tonight. So another thing is like related to that is like yeah, parents can ruin a passion for a kid with sports. So can coaches. So that's another thing, and other players can too. It's not just parents by any means. You can get influence from your friends, your best friends. If they're going out for one sport and they're not going out for other, you may say, "Oh, I'm only going to go out for the sport that my best friends are playing." Don't do that. regardless of
Yeah,
how
and
uncomfortable you are, go for what you want to do. Pick it
you know, and
individually. Go ahead, go
and the
ahead, go ahead.
guidelines we're talking about here is from your elementary days up until your high school days. Obviously, at some point you're gonna have to start narrowing down your sports, and that might even be your
Right, yeah.
junior senior year when you're gonna start to specify your talents into one sport that you want to take on to college. This we're not talking about this just in high school stuff, but at least up until your high school days, even your freshman, sophomore years, go try stuff. You'll find new stuff, and then you're gonna find some stuff that you don't like. But there's people that are 10, 12 years old and their parents are telling them, no, you're only sticking to one sport. And those guys aren't, and guys and girls aren't even matured out to their fullest potential body wise. Who knows what other sport they could turn into a good athlete at, but then their parents say, no, you're sticking to this one sport.
Mm-hmm. And we kind of touched on our third question that comes up. Our third question is pretty much like, how do we allow athletes to be more involved than parents specifically, or coaches, or other teammates? How do we involve an individual? How do we allow an individual athlete to focus on what they want to do? And we've kind of already answered that, quite honestly. It all comes down to just let an athlete be an athlete. If a kid wants to play multiple sports or he wants to play one, just I mean, you got to go with it as a parent. But all we're saying is like push that agenda, push it towards them, and make
Yeah.
them understand and grasp the concept that multiple sports are only going to benefit you. And we'll get into the lack of time you may have. We'll talk about that, trust me, because that's in all reality that's the only downside to it is the lack of time you may have, the lack of free time, video game time, Netflix time, which you'll be able to have.
The rest of your life.
You're gonna have that forever, and you're not gonna have sports forever. You're gonna be working a job forever, but you're not gonna have sports forever. So now I want to bring in something that Urban Meyer said that I actually was looking up, doing some research on why I think multi sport athletes are better off, and I came across something Urban Meyer mentioned, and he said he prefers recruiting athletes who are involved in other sports. One reason for this is that during the evaluation process, coaches like to see athletes with their own eyes, not just on film. This means coaches will go out and see athletes compete during other seasons. Other seasons. So imagine that. And I have an example of it right away. I was getting recruited to play football, and a football coach came to my basketball game. Came and sat and watched me play basketball. And I wasn't a great basketball player. I was a decent role player. I mean, it was my senior year, so I'm starting at that point, and I'm playing a good amount. But a coach from football took the time to come watch me play the game of basketball. So for parents who are sitting here listening to this, understand that coaches don't stop looking at kids after they're done with their individual sport. And they're not going to come watch you train on your own like that. They want to see you in a team like atmosphere all the time. A team like atmosphere literally will take you to the top as a successful athlete.
I think the key thing with that is with the different sports stuff, especially these high level 5-star, 4-star recruits like with Urban Myers, he's already knowing what he's gonna get on the field and off the field for football
Without a
players.
doubt.
He wants to see how his recruits are gonna act in a different environment and different culture on a basketball court, on a baseball field, playing foot or playing soccer, whatever other sport it is other than football. That's when you know that you got the most well-rounded individual that you're gonna be able to bring in as a recruit, and those are the life lessons that you're going to be able to put together to only make yourself better football products. But yeah, keep going. That was just kind of a side note.
No, for sure. I mean, this conversation, like you and I could go all night with it. I mean, we're multi-sport past athletes, and now you currently play baseball. I play college baseball. Like, this was a passion for us growing up. We respected multi-sports. We respected those other athletes, and in our schools, that's important. And another thing that Urban Meyer kind of mentioned was often a recruiter feels that other sports give athletes an edge from a competition standpoint. So you will become more competitive based on more competition. That's literally what happens. Competition breeds competitiveness.
There's different forms.
It is. It can come in different forms, and we'll touch on that too. I mean, we got a whole list of things to go through with this because it's an important topic. In all reality, it is. And in our world today, you're seeing more people just play one sport, and I think ultimately it can be a reason why certain sports no longer exist at certain high schools. Because with less numbers, all right, let me just say, there's power in numbers. And the more numbers you have, the less opportunity a school has to take away a program. So go out. Just go out and play. If you don't like the sport, you could be with your friends. You could get to know some new people. And maybe you find a hidden love for a game that you never knew existed because you've never tried something. Like for me personally, there's one thing that I wish I could have tried and got into at a young age. And for me, that's golf. And I'm terrible at golf now. Gannon knows
Yeah,
that
he's
firsthand.
not very good.
I'm awful. And I got a nice little clean baseball swing. But I take that baseball swing to a golf swing and it looks terrible. So what I'm saying is, like, that's a sport I wish I would have learned growing up because that's a sport I can play forever. And I don't know how to play that sport. I go on the golf course with them guys and mess around and have a nice time. My ball's not going to go very far because I didn't practice it. I didn't learn it, but I still like it. I appreciate it. I appreciate the game. All sports to me are appreciative. Like I appreciate all of them. And it's not necessarily because I like them. It's because there's art in individual games. Every game has art in it. All the art's different. What painting have you ever seen that looks the exact same? None. So another thing I want to touch on is why do multi-sport athletes have advantages? And there's around 5 reasons that are listed. Pulled this from a website that I found to be very reasonable and important, honestly. So I'll go run through these and we can talk about the whole general aspect of them. Number one is multi-sport athletes have a much higher chance of being active as adults. Now that's 100% true because that goes hand in hand with the timing aspect of things. If you're busy all the time and you got to practice for this sport, you got to train for this sport out of season, you got to be at a game on a Friday, but you have a travel ball game on a Saturday for baseball and you had a football game Friday. But whatever it is, blah blah blah. It will make you more active because you learn how to balance your time. You'll learn how to appreciate the free time that you have instead of wanting free time 24/7. The second one is a variety of movements and activities can limit the occurrence of overuse injuries associated with just one sport or skill, which is actually something Gannon already touched on. He already talked about that. And it's on this list because we know we've done it. We've played the multiple sports. We understand that if you're playing more and more sports, your body's less likely to get injured. It's just a proven science fact. And honestly, I think that like that's a reason right there that speaks volumes to me. Is like
It's one of, if not the main reason.
literally like
Physically.
yeah, if I play multiple sports, I have less chance of getting injured. Doesn't that sound kind of awesome? Like
Yeah,
I don't want to get injured. But the third one is playing multiple sports gives athletes time to heal and develop different muscle groups and movement patterns, which goes hand in hand with the second one. And it goes hand in hand what Gannon's already said. Some of these we've already kind of touched on in a minimal way, which is just because we're used to talking about it. But the fourth one is multi-sport athletes haven't had that intense emphasis on one sport and are more likely to retain their love of the game. Very true.
Again,
Because
burnout mentally.
and a prime example of that I have another prime example of it is like I played so many travel ball games growing up in baseball that finally in my junior year of college, where I would have probably loved to continue playing baseball for 4 years in total, but overall I was burnt out. Like it got to the point where like I had played the game so much that I didn't think I had anything left to get from it outside like in the playing realm of things. I still love baseball. I still love football and
And
basketball.
you were 20 years old when you figured that out. These are people that are going through this when they're 10 to 15 years old, and that's the sad part.
Because they're focusing on one sport. When you're
Yeah.
focusing on one sport and that's all you do every single day, you don't have it in you to do that at a young age. You're not going to love that game by the time you reach high school and college. Obviously, guys in the professional leagues like Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, those guys, they're going to love the game forever because that's all they've ever known is a game that they're absolutely the greatest at. And those are
Yeah.
also once in a lifetime people.
Yeah,
Not
you
everybody
can't
not everybody has that mindset. No, nor a
you
lot of
can't
people do.
even. Yeah.
The last one is different types of skills can be applied from one sport to the next, which is another thing we've discussed. And this enhances hand-eye coordination, balance, endurance, explosion, communication, and agility. Which, in all reality, I see one right in front of my eyes that speaks volumes to what we all do the rest of our lives, which is work a job. Until you retire, you work a job. And one of the skills you learn from multiple sports, is communication. communication, networking skills, connections, learning how to work as a team, whatever it is, you use that in the real world. And if you're able to understand that from multiple sports instead of just one, where you're only learning just a one dimensional side of things, you're not going to get the most out of it, and you're not going to be as an active as most as I'm trying to tongue
You're good.
twister.
Let me give
I
you
got
a
a little
break there.
tongue twister.
No, you're
Got to
good.
get the
But
water
yeah,
out.
there's I mean, we could talk about just these five things for an hour long episode if we really wanted to. But a couple of the things that I want to touch on is being back to with the injuries when you're playing the same sports. You know, we're seeing it at the highest rate ever at the youngest ages ever of people getting Tommy John surgery in baseball, which is, you know, now is turning into be maybe a good thing for people's arms because they're coming back healthier and throwing harder and faster. But you're seeing kids younger and younger having elbow injuries just from year-round stuff. They're throwing a baseball 10 to 11 months out of the year
Too much.
nonstop,
Too
and their
much.
bodies aren't even fully developed when you're 10 to 12, 13, 14 years old. They need a break. I just don't. It, I know, like, because it was with when Bryce and I playing travel ball, we'd get done with our summer ball, little league, all stars, all that for 3 to 4 or 5 months of playing, because we would start practicing in the winter time, and we wouldn't get done until July-ish, right, July-ish with all stars, sometimes the end of July, depending how far we went. I was tired. I wanted a break from baseball. Having a month, you know, when I was younger with cross country and golf, and Bryce would have his football season, and then we would play basketball. And then once basketball got done, okay, now we're getting
Now it's
ready to
back
gear
into
back
it.
up for
Yep.
baseball. And we were still doing little baseball workouts on the side, but it was a break. Everybody needs a break from that.
Mm-hmm.
I still need a break now from baseball. I mean, we have an off day tomorrow. It's going to be the best thing ever. I don't got to touch a baseball tomorrow. Everybody needs a break. And the younger you are, you need more of that time off. And another thing is the time management stuff. Like Bryce talked about earlier, yeah, you're going to lose out on some social time, maybe hanging out with some friends or playing some video games or just sitting on your butt at home. But when you're that young, you don't want to, you want to be on the go and you want to be physically active. And that's doing multiple things, not the same sport over and over again. And that's really beneficial for people because, again, you're learning time management skills when you're younger. And that's one of the most important things in your life as you get older, as we know now with our college schedules and now turning into working in the next 3 to 4 years. But I got a couple more things, but I'll let you answer a couple of those.
Yeah, I mean, in all reality, I feel like the most important one is time management, which is actually what we are going to use to wrap this up. And like I said earlier in this episode, the only disadvantage is the fact that you have less time to watch Netflix, less time to kick it on the couch and eat some chips. You have less time of doing that. But ask yourself as an athlete, is having that free time to go out with friends and drink, or go out with friends and see a movie, or go out with friends and ride a bike, is that time more valuable than playing sports? I mean, personally, I don't think so. I don't think it is.
Yeah, and we're not saying not go do it because
Yeah,
Bryce
yeah.
and I have been able to balance that our
Oh,
whole life. We
exactly.
still did all that
There
our
is a
whole
way.
time.
There is
But
a
on
way.
top of that,
Yeah, there is a way to handle it the right way, and your parents will help you do that. Like when you're young, you have complete and utter structure. When you get older, that's when you start to realize, like Gannon and I hitting 20, which feels like we're 75, but once you hit 20 and you realize, all right, you're on your own now. I mean, your parents are always going to be there for you, and my parents are two of the most supportive people in this universe, and I'll go to the grave saying that. But they also take a step back as you get older too, and they let you be independent. And mine have done the same thing. They let me be who I'm supposed to be. If you give your parents that chance to allow you to be who you want to be, more often than not, they're gonna give it to you. They love you. They're gonna give it to you. So just be patient, and whatever you want to do with sports, do it. Just do it. But I hope through this evidence, we at least gave you guys the chance to understand the benefits of it, and maybe possibly save your school, save a program.
save your own body.
That too. And I mean, me personally, I went to a small high school that I don't know if it has a chance to be open for the next 20 years. My high school may be gone because of numbers. And I hope to God it doesn't, and I hope to God it stays. I don't want to say that my high school's closed. I don't want to. I mean, so base your decisions on what you want to do as a kid. I mean, obviously you're gonna have influence from your parents, and they're gonna give you the best influence in mind. but also talk to them and explain to them what you want to do too, and at least open up and get your point across and see what they got to say and see how they react. That's my final thoughts on this whole subject, really.
Yeah, and I mean, before we wrap it up here, I think our guest this week, once you guys figure out who it is, and we'll let you guys know on social media on Wednesday, he really is going to epitomize the multi-sport athlete. He's playing multiple sports in college. There's a little sneak peek for you guys,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
he really epitomizes it. And he's going to give you guys so many valuable lessons. We both love the man to death. He's going to be really good for you guys to hear his story. And he has a very unique story of how sports really changed his life.
The person he
And
is
he has
today is
so
because of
many
sports.
relationships. Yeah, he has so many relationships through all the different sports he's played, and how it's built him into a well-rounded athlete. And I think if he specialized in one sport, he might not be at the level he's playing at right now. And he's going to attest to that on the episode for you guys on Friday. But you got anything else, or you want me to wrap this up?
Go ahead and wrap her up. I think we touched on this subject as much as we could for now for a little short segment for our audience to dive into and listen and dissect it. But we'll talk more about this subject down the road.
Oh yeah,
It's a subject that there's plenty of things that we could discuss about it. And we
yeah.
felt
We can get more specific down the road.
yeah we felt this was the basis and outline of it, and that's what we wanted to cover on Monday. So yeah, we appreciate you guys. Thanks for tuning in.
But yeah, we really thank you guys. Let's tuning into Art of Football 365. You know, the people who's been listening to us since day one. We really appreciate you guys. And some people that are new just now tuning in. We really appreciate you guys too. And if you're not really sure what this is about, just keep tuning into all of our social media pages and all that, because this is really going to take off. We got some big stuff in the works the next couple of weeks, and
It's coming.
season 2, we keep going in this direction, and we're not going this way. Each week we're going up and up.
We're not going this way. We're not going this way.
This way we're going up. And I mean, that's the brand that we're establishing, and we've said that since the start of season 2. And that's been almost 2 months ago, bro. It's crazy. But yeah, until then, we'll catch you guys on Friday. Keep viewing, liking, and subscribing to our YouTube channel, and smashing the like button, and be a multi-sport athlete. Don't be one-dimensional, guys. And thanks for tuning in today.
Yeah, we appreciate you guys. We'll catch you on Friday. We're excited for you to hear what we gotta show you guys.